Welcome to Buckland Station. This gracious old building, nestled in the trees in these quiet fields, has a history that goes back nearly 150 years, to the days when weary travelers kicked up dust as they made their way along the overland trail. Buckland Station offered a place to rest, regroup, and purchase supplies before tackling the Sierra Nevada range, the last obstacle on their way to fame and fortune in California. The history of this place goes back even farther than that. For hundreds of years, the cool waters of the Carson River had attracted wandering bands of Paiutes, whose territory occupied much of what would become northern Nevada. Their lives were tied to the seasonal cycles of the year as they moved from place to place, seeking food and sustenance in the mountains and valleys of the Great Basin. It wasn't until 1843 that the first recorded visit to the site of what would become Buckland Station was made. That year, Captain John C. Fremont of the U.S. Army Corps of Topographical Engineers led an expedition that produced the first maps of parts of Nevada. Fremont's party included Kit Carson, legendary frontiersman and scout, after whom the Carson River and Carson City were later named. After having followed the Oregon Trail to the Columbia River, Fremont's expedition turned south through eastern Oregon into what is now Nevada, arriving at Pyramid Lake on January 10th. Continuing south, they reached the Carson River at a point near what is now Silver Springs on January 17th. After crossing the river, they traveled up the river and on or about January 20th, camped not far from the future site of Buckland Station. From there, they turned southward to Mason Valley and the Walker River, then westward toward the Sierra Nevada, where they made a difficult midwinter crossing into California. History spun a new course in January 1848, when James Marshall saw yellow specks in the sand while building Sutter's Mill near present-day Sacramento. Although San Francisco newspapers reported the discovery, most people didn't believe the report until Sam Brannan, flashing a quinine bottle filled with gold dust, exclaimed, "Gold! Gold! Gold from the American River!" By August, the fever for gold had erupted. About 500,000 eager prospectors from all over the world hurried to join the bonanza. The Carson River Road quickly became the primary route for 49ers traveling west to make their fortunes. Some California promoters traveled east to meet the gold seekers, hoping to entice them to their communities with promises of new and better routes over the Sierra Nevada. Some of these trails posed enormous difficulties. The most treacherous of all was the Walker River Sonora Passage, over which mule-drawn wagons and emigrants battled rides of the Sierra, with vertical cliffs and windswept snowbanks on the 10,000-foot summit. What promoters claimed would be an 8 to 10-day trip dragged into an almost 5-week ordeal for some who tried it. A railroad surveyor said of the Sonora Trail, "We descended some of the worst mountains imaginable. Roads strewn with dead cattle, horses, remnants of wagons. This route is the worst that could possibly be found, and advise no emigrant to take it." One young man, Samuel S. Buckland, set out from Kirkersville, Ohio, convinced he could strike it rich in California, arriving in San Francisco on his 24th birthday, September 13th, 1850. Smitten with gold fever, a stubborn Sam Buckland struggled without success for 7 long years before he gave up the gold fields and headed to Nevada. In the fall of 1859, Buckland, described as lean and strong, courageous and shrewd with a good deal of horse sense, acquired a successful enterprise on the Carson River Road, which he soon renamed Buckland Station. Seizing an opportunity to give service as well as make money, Buckland built a toll bridge across the Carson River. Having contracted with the Overland Stage Company, he provided a trading post for emigrants to find rest, food, and supplies for their trek to California. On the property stood a house near a grove of cottonwoods. A single canvas tent served as a cookhouse during the day and sleeping quarters at night for travelers. It became a profitable post for the California Mail Company and a station for the Pony Express. In the summer of 1859, the discovery of the rich silver veins of the Comstock lode, only 25 miles west of Buckland Station, sent thousands of miners pouring into territory where many native Paiutes had lived for centuries. Prospectors seized forage, wood, water, and land, often violating the Native Americans' rights. It wasn't long before confrontations between whites and natives reached a flashpoint. In the spring of 1860, at least 2 young Paiute females were kidnapped and assaulted by the proprietors of Williams Station, the next station on the road east of Buckland Station. In angry revenge, a small band of northern Paiutes burned the station and killed several white men. News spread quickly. Hasty plans were made, and 105 volunteers were formed into detachments. On May 12th, the rowdy militia marched towards Pyramid Lake. The Paiute warriors, led by Chief Numaga, soundly defeated the ill-prepared army, killing over 60 men, including Major William M. Ormsby, who led the Nevada militia. Panic spread among the white community. Immediate plans were made to protect their women and children. A second battle on June 2nd was a conclusive victory for the California militia and U.S. Army troops. Many Paiutes were killed. The Paiutes had been subdued by the white man's superior fighting skills, but they had not given up their desire to be a distinct people. They silently moved northward, living for the most part peacefully. Following the tragic battles, Carson Valley settlers, stagecoach owners, and the Pony Express demanded future protection against the Native Americans. Captain Joseph Stewart was ordered to remain in the area and establish an outpost. Upon its completion, Fort Churchill served as a major supply depot for campaigns against Native Americans and became the home of one of the largest cavalry battalions in the West. About the time of the Pyramid Lake Wars, Miss Eliza Prentice and her 16-year-old sister, Margaret, joined a westward caravan headed for California. Despite harsh conditions on the trail, the sisters reached Buckland Station on September 5, 1860, Eliza's 20th birthday. When Sam Buckland, the rugged owner, offered jobs to the sisters, they eagerly accepted. Affectionate feelings grew between Eliza and Samuel, and on December 6, 1860, they were married. Eliza became a prominent rancher's wife and would soon become the heart and energy of Buckland Station. In 1861, the territorial legislature created 9 counties and made Buckland Station the county seat of Churchill County, before a survey proved that the station was actually situated in Lyon County. Samuel Buckland served as the first Lyon County Commissioner in 1861 and 1862. As a busy military post for 9 years, nearby Fort Churchill advanced the prosperity of Buckland Station. Off-duty soldiers spent their furlough time relaxing at the station, enjoying its many amenities. Fresh produce grown in the prolific gardens was sold to the fort staff. Fort Churchill was abandoned in the fall of 1869. The War Department offered Fort Churchill to the state of Nevada for its appraised value, but state officials turned down the offer. The complex was then offered in a public auction. Samuel Buckland was in the right place at the right time and acquired all the buildings for $750. The enterprising Bucklands had already envisioned a new ranch house. In 1870, Sam and Eliza, using many of the materials stripped from the deserted fort, built the structure that stands today. Doors, windows, lumber, and a staircase from the fort were used to build the large wood-framed house. The new ranch house had 19 rooms, including 2 parlors, a ballroom, schoolroom, and teachers' quarters on the first floor. 7 bedrooms and a storeroom comprised the second floor. It also served as a boarding house and polling place. During long absences of her husband, Eliza became indispensable in the successful operation of Buckland Station. With the construction of the Carson and Colorado Railroad in 1880, Buckland Station operations expanded even more. The railroad built a station near the Buckland property, thus providing a convenient transportation for the ranch's products. It was on a Carson and Colorado Railroad train headed for Dayton, Nevada, that Eliza Buckland would take her last ride. In early December of 1883, while washing her feet at Buckland Station, Eliza dropped a water pitcher into a crockery bowl, breaking the bowl and slashing her foot. Her devoted husband of 23 years took her by train to see a doctor. As they had done so many times before, Samuel and Eliza stayed at the Union Hotel in Dayton. While there, Eliza lingered in poor health until January 3, 1884, when she finally let go of life. Her son, George, wrote to his Aunt Margaret, "Since she has been buried, it hardly seems like home. For before, when any of us were outside and would come in the house for a few moments, we would always see her with a cheerful face and always a nice warm fire in the room. But there is nothing of the kind now." Eliza, known to many as a noble, generous, and kind-hearted woman, was buried in the cemetery at Fort Churchill, joining 5 of her 8 children. Despondent following his beloved Eliza's death, Samuel's health declined. Sensing he may not have long to live, he sold his ranch and moved to Dayton to live with his oldest son, George. Samuel Buckland died on December 28, 1884, at the age of 58. He was buried near his wife and children. In 1884, W.J. Marsh, a well-respected and prosperous stock farmer in Carson Valley, purchased Buckland Station for $50,000 and moved his family and pedigreed Durham cattle to their new home. Without delay, he began referring to his new ranch as Fort Churchill. In the spring of 1887, Marsh, a colorful and somewhat eccentric man, took a rail car loaded with horses to Los Angeles and sold them to be used pulling horse cars. Marsh liked what he found in the flourishing town of the Lost Angels, decided to stay and pursue real estate. After Marsh sold the ranch in 1887, various farming and ranching families owned the property. In 1902, 2 brothers, Lon and Charles Toll, purchased the site and operated the ranch until 1917. Alice Toll, daughter of Lon Toll, was the second woman to serve in the Nevada legislature in 1929. Automobile manufacturer Eret L. Cord and developer Norman Biltz purchased the property in 1942. They organized several shooting clubs at the Buckland Ranch, bringing in pheasants from California. Because the law allowed only a certain percentage of the birds to be shot, their wild game ranch became one of the first game management operations in Nevada. Other proprietors, each with different goals, contributed to the decline of the ranch house and the property. Likewise, age and neglect took their toll at Buckland Station in succeeding years. Recognized as a vital part of Nevada history, the Buckland Ranch House was donated to the state of Nevada in 1995 by Frank Gilia and incorporated into Fort Churchill State Historic Park. Both the Nevada Department of Transportation and the Nevada Division of State Parks commissioned private contractors to restore Buckland Station as you see it today, enabling it to live on as a window into the first days of settlement in Nevada.